But what are you going to do now? I don't know. How about reading? Oh, now there's a novel idea. Oh, stop it, Mike. Where does the talent end? I don't think it does. The Idea Shop.ca is Chris Houston, and he joins us here this morning. Always has the most interesting books, and this, without a doubt, a couple of real different ones. But boy, they're amazing. And we bring in our good friend Chris Houston. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Very, very good. And I got to tell you, going through the pages of Mad for Ads is such an interesting idea. And again, the premise, well, you tell the folks, the premise is what?
Well, the premise is it's a book ostensibly for children. It's published by Kids Can Press, one of Canada's most reputable publishers for kids. Mad for Ads. It's about how the language of advertising works. And even though it's directed at kids, this is, I think, a great family book. We all struggle with our kids, watching things on TV and hearing things and coming to us saying, hey, I'd like to get this, I'd like to get that. The book points out that we get 3,000 advertised messages a day. TV commercials, billboards, radios, but even things like logos on T-shirts or posters, or even a radio show, Mike. Even a radio show could be an ad. So what I love about this book, Mad for Ads, it is a fantastic book that explains how all these things work, how advertising gets stuck in your brain. It could be as simple as a difference between advertising and marketing. That's something even adults can't understand. And simply put, a poster is advertising, and what goes in the poster is marketing. It's two different things. I give talks at universities and schools all through Ontario, and I can never. That would take me normally about 3 hours to explain to a class full of university level students, and it's done in a page. And one of the reasons it works so well, Mike, is I think it's illustrated. I'm a big fan of illustrated books, as you know. Some fantastic illustrations by Ian Turner. It works so great with Erica Fivey's writing. And this book really makes it easy for kids to understand and for families to understand.
You know what, it's funny because my oldest is in grade 2 right now, and they are actually learning about advertising, social media, where advertisements do pop up. And this is, honestly, I probably could have used this book about a month ago, just because of everything that goes into it. And there's a perfect illustration of it. I just flipped through it. It's on page 9, and I know people don't have this book out there, but they should have this book out there. And it's just a shot of the city. And you point out everything from sandwich boards to storefronts to the side of a lamppost to bicycles to the cab that's going by. Everything we kind of digest in life is messages, subconsciously or consciously. And you know what, really outstanding book, Mad for Ads. I'm already not putting this thing down and sharing it as well. So
yeah, that's great. And I'm glad you pointed out, David, that 2-page spread. Again, the illustrations that show where this stuff comes from, even the idea of repetition, how
yes.
You might see an ad and you're like, I don't want that. Why would I want that? And then you see it again and you go, something about this is starting to appeal to me. 20 times later, which is normal for kids, even for adults, the kid is like, I have to have that thing. I don't even know what the thing is. I have to have it. And trying to explain that to your kid who's busted up because he or she can't get the thing that they want. You have to say, do you really, really want this? Getting them to be able to separate the, I saw an ad and, it looks like if I bought this, I'd be suddenly 13 years old and have 10 friends in my backyard. Even as adults, we're a little bit more aware, but even then, a great book for a family to read together. And even though it's ostensibly for kids 10 and up, as you said, grade 2, trying to explain to my grade 4 son what a digital footprint is made me look really stupid. I sound like I've beamed in from outer space. It's like getting Yosemite Sam to explain something. The book does a great job at putting it across, and there's pictures, so I can leave him with it, and he can come back and say, "Hey, Dad, you better shut your phone off." you're being tracked, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
isn't that amazing? Like with the things that we understand now kind of freak me out a little bit. Like those kinds of things. You know, the understanding of just a pop-up now is just so commonplace that is not that, you know, you don't have to delve into the world that deep to know those kinds of things, but that has changed. I mean, there was a time where, and it's funny, we played a board game that was about advertising, and it was about jingles. And of course the younger, you know, so you know, my son Jordan, and there was some of his cousins were around at the time, and they're probably, you know, high school, just starting university, and they're kind of looking at each other and going, a jingle. And you think about it, jingles, if you had to at the top of your head, I mean, current jingles, hard to find. Generally now,
Sure,
you're finding
yeah.
they're taking popular songs of the day and they're putting them on the car ads, they're putting them everywhere. They no longer have, for instance, Folgers in your cup is the best, you know, it's the best part of getting up, you know, that's a jingle. The some of these like the Rogers little insignia at the end, I mean, these are kind of jingles, but there
Yeah.
aren't a lot of jingles anymore.
Yeah. No.
You know, if you watch a Pepsi or Coca-Cola, they're not, I mean, if someone said, what is Coke's jingle? Well, they're using different songs. They're
Yeah.
not just
From
saying
top artists of the day. Exactly.
of the day. So, and I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of it overly, because some of those songs are so irritating, it's like, I would never buy your product because of that stupid, irritating, dumb ass song that you've got on there. Forget,
But
see,
you know their name though. It's irritating, but you know the name. I mean, if you want to bring any, you know, any gathering of people who grew up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s to a standstill, you know, someone just needs to start singing the Oscar Mayer Wiener song,
right.
or you know, I'd like to teach the world to sing. These
That's
are
right.
these are like kids would just sing these walking to school. You know, I hesitate to think that maybe that isn't quite. You know, we don't have that level. Those people are geniuses. You know, it's like the guy who invented roll up the rim. You know, like that guy should just get the gold plaque for marketing and advertising. The Oscar Mayer Wiener song every morning. It's in my head. I don't know why.
Do you remember Harvey's makes a hamburger
A
beautiful thing? Yeah, that was a good jingle. That was a really good one.
They still use that. They still use that.
Do they?
As a kicker at the end. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. Which is kind of, I like that kind of thing. So, hard transition.
Yes, well, you know, after you finish explaining, you know, your digital footprint and being tracked on social media to your kids, and you send them to bed, it's time to curl up with a nice graphic novel. Now, I'm a big, as you guys know, I'm a big comic book nerd from way back. I've always loved comic books. One of the all-time great comic book artists is a guy named Barry Windsor Smith. He was the guy who gave us Conan. If you can imagine, there was a time when no one knew where Conan was. This guy, English artist, 1970, started drawing Conan and transformed it into, you know, the thing that we us and Arnold know and love today. But for 35 years, he's been toiling away on this graphic novel, you know, all pictures and word balloons like a comic book, but very, very serious subject matter. Mad Nazi scientists, you know, inject some poor sort of damaged young American boy with this serum, which sounds a little bit like Captain America, but it actually transforms him into this horrible monster. And it sort of underscores a whole family dynamic that was happening. Incredibly rich. This is a case where this book tells a story that you really, you know, monsters. See if we can get it on the camera. There it is, monsters.
Yeah.
You really couldn't tell this story as well with just words. You need the images. It's every page is this dazzling, beautiful artwork, but it's very serious stuff, and it's great as an adult to read something satisfying with that sort of comic book narrative thing. I don't know if you guys are comic book guys, but this I actually, it's 360 pages, and I read it in one sitting. I literally could not stop reading it.
Well,
okay, let me ask you. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Well, I think most people, and Dave, you can jump in on this for sure. Like, I certainly like. There were comic books that you had and you had growing up. Like, I think everybody did. Now, what it turned into, you know, this, you know, the Comic-Con / Marvel world, which of course has, you know, taken over like the whole planet. So there used to be a time where there was a stigma to those that were comic book people, which is why on The Simpsons, the comic book guy talked the way he did, dressed the way he did, and of all the episodic, he issue number 120, that was the joke. Except the joke is now kind of on us, who maybe didn't do that because there's not a movie made, there's not a TV show made, there's not anything done that's on Netflix or Apple or television. You name anything, it is usually heavily influenced by the graphic novel world. It just is. That's where we live now. So kind of the nerd is the guy that doesn't know about it. That's what I find very ironic.
It's like Rush, great Canadian band, Rush said on their famous 2112 album, the meek shall inherit the earth. We're taking over. It's interesting, you mentioned, Marvel and all that. Graphic novels really wasn't a term until like the late 70s, and the publisher of Monsters is a company called Fantagraphic Books, and they're like the greatest illustrated book comics publisher in the world. They do the Peanuts, they do old comic strips, new comic strips, and there's just a huge appetite. Their catalog is thousands and thousands of titles, and what's interesting is how different everyone is. You do have your classic that comic book guy in The Simpsons.
Right.
I mean, I know that guy. I've
Right.
been to his store. I can't remember where it was. And then I was at his store again in another city. Like he's the classic guy. But comic book nerds, people just liking a good story. I mean, that's what's great is as human beings, we like a good story. In advertising, all the ads we just talked about, there's a bit of a story to them. That's why they're stuck in our head, whether it's a song or whatnot. And again, using images, using pictures to tell a story. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, Monsters is like an epic of epics. It's every page is beautifully hand drawn. It just that guy, he used to draw. He did some great X-Men comics.
Wolverine,
yeah. And it's like each page is like carved out of the book, and amazing. He started it 35 years ago. Every page looks like it was drawn yesterday afternoon. So yeah.
So Barry Windsor Smith is 72 years old right now, and is this almost a best of Barry Windsor Smith? Is that a fair thing of saying, considering that if you're looking at the realm of comic book monsters illustrations over the last 30-40 years, this guy is basically a first ballot Hall of Famer in his category. Would you say that's a fair assessment of this book?
Absolutely. I think everything he's learned, it's a funny thing in comic books, the artist, the person who draws the pictures and the person who writes the words, they're two different people. You got Stan Lee banging out a story and a guy, Jack Kirby drawing it, and then they kind of come together at the end and, put the two together. But Barry Windsor Smith, he's a true artist. He wrote every word, he lettered every balloon. It's only his hand in there. So it's literally a summation of everything he's ever done. There's a little bit of Captain America with the serum, mad Nazi scientists. Can't go wrong with that if you're telling a story. And then there's a bit of the Hulk, this big monstrous creature. Everyone's chasing him through the book. There's car chases, and then there's a ghost story too. So he's drawn all these facets, and he's done it better than anything he's ever done before. And he's done now. He's literally like, this is his sign off statement. I as I do, I try to get him. Hey Barry, would you like to come on the show with Mike and David and I? And he's he wants the work to speak for itself, so it's his true masterpiece.
Gotcha.
Well, I can also help him here. What he also needs to do is put some of his own blood into the ink, like Kiss. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yes. That's known in my house as the long bicycle ride story. Some kid shows up playground with his Kiss comic printed in real Kiss blood by Marvel Comics, and I was like, where did you get that? And it's the far store. It's the store that's like 2 towns away. I had to pack a lunch and some water, and maybe I kissed my family goodbye at the age of 10, and I came back, Mike. I came back. I'll have it ready for you to see in the next call.
Oh,
it has not left my sweaty little hand since. It was, as they say, worth the drive.
and wow, people should know that the Marvel Comic Super Special Series, which featured this ink, so blood from each band member was drawn by a registered nurse, witnessed by a notary public, and poured into the vats of red ink using the printing of the comics. So verified. Kiss blood.
As soon as DNA technology was made apparent to us youngsters, we thought, who's going to mangle their copy of Marvel Super Special #1 and try to make a fresh new Gene Simmons or Ace Frehley? You know, like let's you know, these guys, maybe we could put them to work in the yard or something.
And as a side note, Chris, I'm sure you probably know about it, but this Sunday on A&E is the part 1 of a 2-part 4-hour documentary on Kiss.
Oh
yeah.
Sunday.
It's you know, that's another you know, it's in that era of the jingles that we like and all that. Kiss, you know, trying to score that time on the television that Sunday afternoon that Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park was on. That was, you know, you knew you could not show up at school Monday morning and not you know, be ready to be the Siskel and Ebert reviewing that. You know, well, I thought this was a smashing good film. I mean, it's terrible, but it doesn't matter. That's what I love. It didn't matter.
Yeah,
does not matter. So I'll be up on Sunday watching. Thank you for the tip, David. I've got to tear myself away from these books and actually try some other forms of entertainment.
Chris, thank you so much for this morning. Always a pleasure. Always great ideas, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.